Hey everybody, Big Mike on the mic, coming at you Como Street on September 30th, I guess the last day of September. So I'm just freewheeling down to the ride. I've got some nice shadow play here. You know, we often forget just how much fun bike riding can be. Here I am, I've got my shadow going and I start doing some turns like I'm skiing. I'm surprised how similar that feels to skiing when you start doing turns like this on my shadow. But you know, we often forget just how fun bike riding can be. I mean, just a gorgeous morning here. Here I am going into a corner and just enjoying the feel of the bike and being outside is just a great thing. All right, so on to the ride itself. So I'm doing a bit of a ride analysis here. This is where I think the ride really gets going. I'm going to show you a Strava feature and then we'll get into the ride itself. Right, so all you Strava users out there probably, well, maybe you don't know, there's a flyby thing on Strava you can use that will actually show you your ride, and you can change various features on it. This is not a Strava tutorial, but I'm just going to show you here what this looks like. Here we are kind of where I think the ride really begins to be made here on Como, which is Church Climb, right along this section here where Saddleback Church is. Usually there's a light here, sometimes we get it, sometimes we don't, on the corner of El Toro and Marguerite. And then we just continue up El Toro here. You hit the El Toro Y and you go up the climb. So you can just kind of see, kind of in real time, if you will. I'm just going to play this, how this ride pans out. So here are all the riders. This kid right here, Jason Paez, man, is just killing everybody. I've got this set at 46 times its normal speed, so we go by the by Cook's Corner there, and you can just see how the ride just blows up. So yeah, so if I were to stop this here, you can kind of see this is beyond the climb here, and you've got this kid Jason out here on the front, and just all kinds of people, trailing here. I'm actually right here in black. Crazy Mikey is back here. Big Rigo, just a monster on the flats, man. That guy can just hammer out the watts. He's pulling Mikey up to my little group here, and you can see how my group actually almost makes contact here with this group, which eventually I believe catches up to this group. So you can just see how things are kind of strung out. But the group I was with, we didn't, after the climb, we just probably did not work as well as we could have. I'm just going to press the play button here and kind of follow this along. But yeah, just kind of cool video, and you can kind of follow your ride that you had and all your buddies in that ride, along the route. So it's kind of just a cool feature to have. All right. Okay, so we're going to pick up Como Street here, again, where I think the ride really starts to get made, and that's on this church climb. You can see I've got my watts and miles per hour, my RPMs, my heart rate monitor still's not working, and then down there in the lower right-hand corner, you can see the steepness of the climb. So things usually heat up pretty good here on this church climb. I've gone to 2x speed just to not make the video super long. I'll slow it back down once we actually get to Cook's Corner here, but you can just see the group has, for the most part, stayed together here during the ride, and we're just making that tromp up Church Climb here and underneath the toll road. You've got this housing development here off to the right, Painted Trails. I actually used to own a house there way back. But you can see how things do towards the top of this climb start to get stretched out somewhat. And my whole goal here today was to try to make it with the lead group over the Cook's Corner climb. So I had pretty much been, except for kind of the beginning of the ride, pretty much been sitting in and trying to, as a big guy, trying to conserve my energy. So I think I'm going to call this ride How to Get. I did not actually achieve my goal. Here we slow down here for this little turn in into this Painted Trails area. But I think I'm going to call this ride How to Get Dropped But Still Have a Great Ride. So I did not make it with the A-list climbers, that one guy there on the right-hand side being one of them, John Janik. The dude, again, is all leg. Just call him John the Leg Janik. so you can see, again, I got this thing going 2x, but we've got a lot of spinners here, a lot of little guys. Do want to talk a little bit about my size, because I am a bigger rider. I'm probably not the biggest rider in this group, but I'm darn close to it. There's a couple guys here that are pretty big. Thomas Teeger's a big guy. A guy named Johnny who's big, and I'll try to point these guys out when we actually see them. But we are just making this approach up to Cook's Corner where things even get ramped up that much more. So I'm just trying to keep my trying to be as efficient as I can and trying to stay up towards the front. Because one of the things you can do as a bigger guy is if you position yourself up towards the front when the climb begins, you can slowly get passed by the Lilliputian A-list climber types and then still maintain contact with them as you crest. We're talking a 5 to 8 minute climb here, not really long, 20 plus minute climbs. So that's where that's my thinking here on this particular ride and this approach to Cook's Corner. There's a little kicker that we were just going up there, and you get a little bit of a downhill, so you can see my watts go down before we actually get to Cook's Corner proper. So I'm not at the absolute front of the group because I don't want to be doing any work, but I'm towards the front of the group, which I'm pretty happy with my placing here. If anything, I probably could move up maybe 6 or 8 riders or so just to give myself some additional placing. See some traffic here on the left-hand side, but we're coming right up here to Cook's, and I'll get a little bit more deeper into the actual analysis. Gonna slow the action down here a bit. I've got it running at 2x. Here's the Cook's Corner. Now we're at normal speed. So Cook's Corner, just a kind of a landmark spot there, and I've put myself not at the absolute front of the group here, but there's maybe 15 guys in front of me, something like that. And I'm just, you can see where the watts are, right? 400, 500 watts here. This is Henry. I'm sitting on the back of his wheel, just a great wheel to be on. But, things are actually going pretty good here. So I can see Henry start to just drift a little bit off that wheel. So I've got to, get on it a little bit more here and get up to a wheel here so I don't get too far off the back. So there's Pink Socks, but that's not Jorge. So other Pink Socks, another big guy on the bike. So the guy in red, that's Frank. Frank is one of the guys I keep an eye on because he's just a tough rider, roughly my age. And he climbs extremely well. So I know if I'm with Frank, I'm doing a pretty good job. A couple bike links up is that young kid, John Janik. I see Thomas Teeger up there. I probably know some of these guys. This guy in the USC jersey, I don't know, but you can see no real grinders here. And you can see some guys being a little bit aggressive, which is, kind of characteristic of Como Street. It's a friendly Sunday ride where throwdowns happen. Anytime you put a bunch of guys, A-type personality guys on a bike, there's going to be some throwdowns. I think that's Nick Bishop there, and we got Paul Elkins sliding past me. All these guys again are in my mind, they're the Orange County A-lister guys, right? So here's where you can see me start to just fall off. So I'm actually at my absolute threshold here. I even actually went over my threshold here using some a software analysis tool called Exert. But you can see right here is where I'm getting dropped from the best climbers. So they're just right there. You can just kind of reach out and grab them. I wish I was Spider-Man where I could just, shoot a web out there on the back of one of these guys' jerseys and just tow myself back up to the group. But you can see the gap just get a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger. Now there are a lot of riders behind me here, being Don Wonderful. That guy rides 8 million miles a year. There's Big Johnny. Not sure who that is. Jesus somebody maybe. I don't get all the names right. So Don came by me, and then you could see him go behind me again real quick. So sometimes that kind of stuff happens. These guys actually, they dig and they make it up to that group. So this big guy, Johnny there, man, he has just been riding super strong. And I'm thinking, wow, he's got onto the back of that group. So that's really something. And I get this guy coming by me, John Van Dyke. So John is really quite the sprinter, and just look at him just come around me, no complaint, no do my part, just come around me and very professionally pull in front of me. You can see some guys going backwards here, and he's basically giving me his wheel. And I've been riding with this guy for a couple of years now. I don't really know him that well, except that I always see him pretty much every Sunday. I mean, and he honestly, he could hardly be more professional on the bike. So we all kind of have, I guess, our comrades on the bike, if you will, and he would definitely be one of mine. So appreciate it, John. So you can see these guys out here, things are still getting strung out a little bit. They're just right there. We're not actually closing the gap, though. So again, you can look at my watch, you can look at, the guys in front of me, you can look at John's, really pretty solid spinning there going up this climb. You can look at the climb percentage. We're passing some guys who have fallen off the pace, but we're not really catching the front of the group A-list climbers, and I believe we got right back up here to Johnny, Big Johnny again, and this other guy that was riding with him. Yeah, so we get up onto that wheel. Again, 500 watts here as we kind of crest this climb. There's Majeska grade. We should go over that. That gets almost 20% there. But look, the guys are right there, and I know that there's a downhill, a little camelback downhill here, and then a longer downhill. And I always am optimistic that I can catch these guys on the downhill. And while I can make some significant gains, if I don't really have any help on the longer downhill part, chances of catching them are not that great. And you'll actually see how that works out as well. So we got to the top of this first camelback hump here. I'm sitting on his wheel. You can see our watts go down, and what we actually should do is probably press a little bit harder here on the downhill. But I'm at my limit here. So we've got some guys coming around us, but again, we're not really pressing as hard as we could be if we want to actually catch that lead group, which it was definitely possible to do that. So I'm thinking, okay, we've got a nice little group here. We just need maybe one or two guys to do the work, but that's honestly easier said than done. Here we are on this little descent between the camelbacks. We're all pretty much on our limit here, and Mr. Van Dyke just did yeoman's work with me on his wheel, not complaining whatsoever. So we're at the trough of the camelback hump here. If you really punch it hard here, again, you can make some inroads, but those guys up the road are punching it hard too. They're not exactly sitting back doing nothing. So it's chase mode, and we're just not throwing down the watts. So so you want to know how you get dropped? It's really easy. You don't pedal hard enough for long enough. It basically is that simple. And I'm guilty as the next guy. I'm somewhat relying on people to help tow my big, what, but up these climbs, being a non-climber, and it's gonna hurt. So you can't really necessarily blame anybody but yourself when you get dropped. You simply don't have the functional threshold power for that length of effort to stay with the A group. It's literally that simple. You're just not pedaling hard enough for a long enough period of time, right? So here we are. We're going down the descent, and pretty much I've given you my analysis. Didn't pedal hard enough, but I still had a great ride. I know I went over what my threshold was for that given period of time using some additional analysis software, and really pretty much satisfied with where I'm at and some of the progress that I'm making. I am doing some specific training on my trainer, so I have big hopes for that. And I think my threshold power for this climb and climbs up to 8 to 10 minutes will increase. So here I am using my size. I'm surfing wheels here. You can see my speed kind of increase. I'm getting behind. Is that David Cornell? Can't keep it everybody straight. I think his uncle is Hiroshi, who's behind us. But you can see I'm trying to surf wheel here and get a little extra speed. Johnny's actually pedaling downhill, which I don't actually like to do, but hey, it's a good way to keep the speed up. So here I get a little bit of a draft. I can use the slingshot effect. I can go around these guys, and I can somewhat help close the gap for the guys in front of us, but ultimately we just did not work well together at the end of the day in the canyon here. And some guys caught us, and we formed a slightly bigger group, but we never got on to the lead group until we were done with the penultimate climb there at Dump Hill. So yeah, there's me on the front, putting some speed down. Some guys come around me, but pretty much, that's the ride analysis for the climb. All right, everybody, see you out there. Later.